It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
I somehow keep wondering how we have every decent man and woman listening. Clearly, we're on the wrong side of that map. It's a Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekend automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's automotive radio show. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. This morning's team includes Misfits, Rapscallions, and Ne'er-do-wells. Sean Walker is here and Old Man Brad. On the show today, we'll review cars that we have been driving. Andrea Deliz, the brand manager from Dodge, will be here along to talk about the Durango, which is our long-term test drive. We will help you out with cars for your midlife crisis, and we get to talk about the latest news stories which are happening. A big one in Portland. That's all coming up on the show. So what have we been test driving? Well, I have been test driving the new Land Rover Range Rover L, which is the long version, the supercharged version. 8 extra inches of legroom in the back of this thing. My adopted son got in it the other day, and he went, "Whoa, I've never been in a car with this much legroom in the back." And the first thing that came out of Sean's mouth was, "Brad would love this," because it's like a limo at the back. 3-liter V6 supercharged, or a 5-liter V8, 340 horsepower, 461 horsepower, 8-speed electronically controlled transmission. This vehicle does not do so badly on gas. The V8 does about 19 miles a gallon, and where the V6 will get about 23 miles a gallon. So what does it compete with? That's a difficult question. I mean, what are the giant SUVs out there? The Escalade, of course, the Infiniti QX80, Mercedes-Benz GL, and the Lincoln Navigator. Oh, the Lincoln Navigator is probably like a size
Lexus,
smaller.
The LX.
LX, which there will be a new one at Pebble Beach, by the way. They will be unveiling that in about 6 weeks' time. And then the different trim levels for the Range Rover, full-sizer, HSE, the Vogue SE, the Autobiography, and blah, 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 blah.
The Autobiography.
The Black this, the Autobiography Black, the Special Edition this, I'm Better Than You.
How much do you want to open your checkbook?
Yes. And so, there's lots of different editions of this. I will tell you a couple things about this vehicle. First of all, I think $119,000, the one I'm driving, which is, well, 2 of those as a house. We could probably live in them, I'm sure. The interesting thing about this is the reason I have the vehicle is I'm looking at some latest technology. Most people may not know this, but Land Rover Jaguar, the company, moved their tech center here to Portland. So their tech office is now in Portland, the one that the office that does all the latest tech as far as autonomous driving, as far as all the infotainment systems on the inside. So all their technology is actually here in Portland. So along with Nike and Adidas and Intel and the big companies that are here, Doc Martin, also they have a Jaguar Tech Center here. The interesting thing is this new tech that they're developing, mostly out of England, not so much the tech center here, is a pothole detection system. And so what it does is when you drive over a pothole, it registers the pothole, and the next driver behind you who is in a Range Rover or a Land Rover, it will tell them on the windshield, hey, there's a pothole here in the road. It'll let you know where it is so you can avoid it. And you might think, oh, it's just a silly piece of technology we don't need. Until you realize this is just the average cost that potholes do damage to cars a year is $377. And for every dollar we do not spend on repairing a pothole, in 5 years' time, that costs us $7 to repair it. Potholes are a huge problem.
So the guys at Wheelcraft are not going to be happy with this technology.
Well, no, they probably won't, although most punches of tires are caused by potholes, not by sharp objects entering the car. So this is an absolutely massive problem. A lot of our roads were built to last 50 years. In the 50s, we're 15 years beyond that right now, and the roads are only here because of good maintenance.
So let me get this 100% straight. They moved all the technology here to Portland.
Yes.
Where we don't pay for road repair at all, apparently.
Well, actually, we're not
so
too
that they
bad.
could study potholes.
We don't come into the top 20 of the United States. I will tell you, we don't come into the top 20 cities in the United States. LA is number one. 64% of the roads in LA are considered to be in poor conditions. So there are a lot worse cities out there in the United States. Now, I talked about this on Rebecca and Steve on Friday, a couple of weeks ago on Friday morning. Lars Larson comes running down the hallway after me and goes, Nick, do you think they could get a system in which it would email every city councillor every time it went over a pothole? Which I think is a great idea. And then John Vincent from the Portland Tribune pointed out that there is actually technology now where you can throw a chip into a pothole, and every time a Twitter user goes over it, it tweets the city that there's a pothole. Great ideas. But I think Jaguar Land Rover on the road. So that's why I had the car. So that's the first car. We can definitely talk about that a little bit more. We were going to venture today also to let you know that we're going to open phone lines as well. So take down the number in case you have a comment on stuff. 503-417-9595 is the phone number. The other car I've been driving, Mercedes-Benz ML. Great little vehicle. It does come with a diesel, which I really like, but it does come in about 7 different engine options, I think. 3-litre V6, a diesel, 3.5-litre, a 4.6-litre, a V8, which is a 5.5-litre. So they're on a 4.6-litre V8 as well. So lots of different options. Everything from 240 horsepower to 518. 7-speed automatic. The trim levels are the 350, the Blue Tech, the 400, and of course the AMG version that everybody wants. $49,800 starting price. If you get the Designo interior, I think it adds $30,000 to the price of the car. So just the interior.
Is that Designo?
Yeah. Well, I think it's. You would think it would be pronounced Designo, but it's actually Designo. It's when I asked
so
Mercedes,
Americanized.
yes, it feels like it's wrong, and you should be a little more continental in saying that. But apparently, it's Designo.
So, how is the fit and finish on this? Because I remember when the ML first came out, that first year was terrible, rattles, and they had all sorts of issues with that car.
I mean, Mercedes is the number one manufacturer without recalls, so it's pretty good. They have very little to complain about.
Which is shocking. We were actually going on the list, and
number 2 is very obvious. I thought number 2 would be number 1. That's Mazda. But do you know who number 3 is for the car company with the least recalls?
But they're going on volume too. So
volume of cars produced.
Well, it's clearly not Toyota right now.
No, but you're on the right track.
It's
with Scion?
No, it's GM.
Really?
GM and number 3 with the least recalls.
But they're going on volume, so all the fleet sales.
Per percentage of the cars you produce.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, what have you been driving?
I've been driving the Volkswagen e-Golf Premium, and I'm not a fan of electric cars, but really enjoy this one. It was 2015 Motor Trend Car of the Year. This car it was fun to drive, and I'd say it was better to drive than a regular Volkswagen. Just with the battery being so low to the ground and low center of gravity, this car handles like a dream. They say you get about 83 miles per range on the battery, but I was getting around 100.
It's all driver dependent.
Well, yeah, I was actually driving this car pretty hard, too, because
it's got 3 different modes or something to drive.
It has 3 different braking modes, and that's the only down part I don't like about it is because every time you get in, you have to reset it. And I actually had it on the stage 3 where it brakes a lot harder. It didn't faze me that much, but it's just every time you go in and start the car, you have to reset that. So I think that's a little pain. It's like I have it on the 3rd stage, just leave it there for me.
Okay.
Its competitors are the Spark EV, Fiat E500e, Ford Focus Electric, Nissan Leaf, and the Kia Soul EV. And out of all those, I think this is definitely the best driving. Is fun to drive. It's great to get into. Has also 52 cubic feet of space inside if you fold everything, so you have room to haul everything.
I know you guys were all fans for Drive Revolution of the Fiat, but I picked this as my favorite car for
it was a tough call. It was a tough call. I love that 500e, but that was a tough call.
The starting price for it is $35,445, but you can get one on lease for $229 a month. So that's a steal.
I think all their badging on the electric cars is blue.
Yeah.
Which is a color designation for the electric car.
Oh, all right.
Polarized cop.
All right. Brad, what have you been driving?
I had a car. Well, so when we do these test drives, we have to realize that not all the vehicles we get to review were designed for you or me, because I had the Nissan Juke Nismo RS.
Right.
Which, while fun to drive and enjoyable getting in and out of this car for me with the Recaro seats on the RS, was ponderous to painful. It was just difficult, and but once I negotiated that, and let's not talk about getting out of the vehicle, It was surprisingly nimble and fun.
I just have 2 pictures of your 6-year-olds, 6-year-olds trying to get you out of the car.
Yeah, it took both of them.
Kate, push!
It's like the old days on the Corvette where you just kind of move your bum over the top of the seat and then fall down.
But
that's
I
how
think
you
with
get
the
in.
seats, like these seats are designed for race cars, like the 370Z and the GTR, which sit pretty low to the ground. And this being a CUV, it kind of is up there, so it's a little harder to get in.
Yeah, the tough thing for this vehicle is that it's real aggressively designed, so it's going to have a limited market there. And then you also have really rugged competitors like the Renegade and the Kia Soul, the Mazda CX-3. Price range for the base goes from $23,000 up to this RS, which is $31,000.
All right.
So there's a lot of options in that category.
Excellent. Well done, guys. Those are our cars. Of course, more information at testmiles.com. You can see some of the cars reviewed. Coming up, we're going to talk about Dodge Durango. We have a long-term loan of a Dodge Durango, and Andrea from Dodge is going to be joining us to talk about that Durango, a little bit of the exterior design, and some of the marketing plan. That's coming up on Test Miles and FM News 101 KXL. I'm Nick Miles.